Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 1 minute at a time. In this, our 6th season, we are looking at the Avengers. I'm Andy Nelson from the Next Reel Film Podcast.
And I'm Pete Wright. Podcast acquired. Podcast angry. Podcast angry.
Today we're talking about Minute 81, which begins with moving into position and ends with massive falling debris. Back on the show, we have Ryanne Bennett from Black Girl Nerds. Ryan, hello.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me back. We all know why I'm here for this minute.
Oh, yes.
It's because you're such a fan of the colorectal laboratory on the helicarrier, right? Colorectal laboratory for the win.
Sure. I mean, I wasn't going to go there, but sure.
Yeah.
Let's go with it.
Is it because we have now apparently decided, anytime we have people holding on to aircraft, we need to have Ryan on? Because I'm like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
We had this exact same conversation in Captain America last season.
Yep. Anytime there's an aircraft, put me in, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Fantastic.
I had no idea you were going to be this predictable so early, but I'm glad we're here. It's Ryan and falling
I like to keep my
aircraft.
life boring and predictable. Okay, I don't want to be unpredictable. Keep it one way, okay?
All right.
Absolutely. Well, we start this minute, our pilot, our young SHIELD pilot, played by Walter Perez, he's dropping into position into, he's going for the Wishbone Lab, we're just going to call it. Pete, I know you have
call it whatever you want. We all
name.
know it's the colorectal laboratory.
But it's an interesting view of this area of the ship. And I want to start this off getting the opinion from both of you. What do you think of this method of dealing with Hulk to get him out of the helicarrier? I mean, I don't even know if their intention is to get him out of the helicarrier, but their intention is to distract him, I believe, is what they were aiming for. How does this play for you?
I think it is the dumbest thing ever to shoot at the Hulk. I don't understand why they keep doing it. I'm like, it just bounces off of him like it's just like little crumbs. It's like cookie crumbs or something. It just bounces off of him and he just smashes everything. And I'm like, why do they keep doing that? I'm like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible idea. And we know, for one, they should have seen the earlier movie. Right? We know what happened.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
There were cameras at the college. Like, let's just say nobody goes to the movies. They have footage in this movie of the college, and it's ridiculous that they didn't think about this. But the fact that just say the Hulk isn't even in the movie, the fact that they have a plan that includes taking one of their fighter jets and shooting it at their aircraft carrier in the sky is unbelievable absence of forethought. It is military malpractice. Why they shoot at their own, like the ultimate own goal, like that nobody saw this happen is the stupidest thing. And it is a thing that takes me out of the movie. As much as I absolutely love the actual effect of Hulk on a plane and the line, Hulk target angry is so good. It's really stupid. It's really, really stupid.
Well, we know the scene was here designed simply to get the line target angry.
Yep.
Like that is really why this entire scene is here. But as soon as it starts happening, I'm like, wait a minute. This is a helicarrier and it has two places that it can go. It can go in the water or it can go in the sky. And now they cannot put it in the water because they've essentially punctured a hole in the hull. And so it's just going to flood if they do that. So it's like, how do they fix this thing now?
But like, Andy, they also are missing one engine already.
Yep.
So it's already a broken helicarrier and they puncture another hole in it. It's unreal. This is treasonous leadership right here.
Well, with a broken engine, at least it could have landed in the water still. Now,
and yes, now it can land in the water and maybe on the floor of the seabed.
Oh my goodness. I end up having so many problems with this. I'm just like, okay, now here's another, this is a thought for both of you. We talked about this quite a bit. Like if Bruce is hulking out and they need to get him into the little containment cell that they've designed for him to drop him off of the ship. We've seen it. They held Loki in there. Loki is still in there, actually. But say, for example, that Bruce is going crazy, and say, for example, they say, okay, get in there quick before you Hulk out because we need you locked in the containment center. Now, say they do all of that, and they're still at sea. How do they get him off of the ship?
They're taking a sealed container, ejecting it out of the bottom of the ship.
Again, they're opening a hole.
Boom, boom, and bounces right back up into the ship.
The ship's going to flood. Again, all the water's going to pour in.
You know what would... there probably is a shield hole in the top of, like, in the aircraft, the carrier top. So when they open it, they can actually plunge and eject the cell out of the top like a whale shooting air out
That's
of
a big whale.
blowhole.
That's a pretty big whale.
It's the blowhole, shield blowhole.
The helicarrier blowhole.
The helicarrier blowhole.
Oh.
I didn't even know we were going to do this kind of re-engineering of the helicarrier on this episode, but I'm very happy we went down this line of inquiry.
This aircraft took so much punishment where I was just like, why? Like, why is this thing still going? But it goes.
Yeah.
It works. And I'm like, I don't understand why. And it's like so many, like you have gods on this floating like aircraft and you have no like smart plan on how to contain them. Like you just like, well, let's just hope for the best.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to work out. It's going to happen. Like we're going to put the Hulk. He's super huge in this container. But, you know, we got it. We got it, guys. It's under control.
That's so funny. Here's another question. Like, I'm not exactly sure the policies on when pilots need to keep their visors on when they're doing activities, but I did think it was very strange. And I guess it's just so that we can see his eye reaction when Hulk jumps on his ship. And I'm like, why does the pilot open his visor just to shoot at Hulk? Like, it was such a strange moment.
He's like, are these bullets really bouncing off? Hold on, wait a minute.
I have to see that.
All right, I think so. I think it's not working. So yeah, I don't know. And I'm just like, why do you even stay there? That's another question I have.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's jumping off. I'm like, now, granted, he would have been a big old Hulk falling down on something.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's going to land on. So maybe that's why you just have to go to the conclusion of, okay, he's not going to actually run, even though he knows what's getting ready to happen to him now that the Hulk has spotted him. But I just was like, why don't you move? Like, if I see the Hulk coming at me, I'm like, obviously the Hulk is going to be fine. I need to, like, why are you still sitting there?
I know. I mean, you'd think that these people, if they're dealing with the Hulk, if this is the plan for Fury to say, hey, we're bringing Bruce Banner onto the helicarrier, he might Hulk out. Here is the plan. Here's our contingency plan if it happens. This is what you all need to be aware of. And when I see this pilot and his reactions, I'm like, I don't think he got that memo. I think that this is the first time that he's seeing any of this because he's like in such complete shock. He's like, what is going on?
Yeah, his flight report starts and ends with, you guys, there's a Hulk on the helicarrier, because this is like no transparency here. He feels like the only guy in the know about this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, but aside from our pilot and aside from him deciding to open fire, again, it's per orders, but still, he opens fire on Hulk. What we actually see when we cut inside the Wishbone lab is we actually see Hulk and Thor fighting, and it's really kind of Hulk beating Thor up is really what we see. And I thought it was funny because this is kind of another puny god situation where we really have Hulk kind of railing on an Asgardian here. And I was like, I guess I never paid that much attention to this particular moment, but this is really setting us up for what we're going to have later. I mean, Hulk really seems to be dominating. I mean, how does this battle between the two of these characters play for you? I mean, do you think that Thor should be doing better? Or does it make sense the way it's playing, Ryan?
I think it makes sense. You would think Thor would, like, because Thor did what he could do, right? Like, at a certain point, you only got but so much, because his arm is like this, like, teeny tiny compared to, like, a Hulk size, like, get ready to punch you. So he's the only person that can take it and might get back up. Like, it's going to take him a little bit to get back up, but he's the only person that can take it. But I also like the fact that if I can point out, Bruce Banner the whole time has been laughing at people because he started out at the beginning, like up to this point saying, oh, this is a bad idea. I've been keeping this in containment. This is a bad idea. And then all of a sudden, you have this big, so it's like, whatever you get is what you get at this point. Because the whole time he's like laughing, like, I've been containing this. I told you guys to leave me alone. I don't know why we got to keep doing this. Keep putting me in these situations.
Yeah. Good point.
And then the one person that should be able to stop him with a hammer has got nothing. Like, he's trying, but he's got nothing. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just the fact that he's just laughing at everybody this, like, up until this point, trying to stop him. And he said this was a bad idea. Like, whether you submerge him or you put him in the air, it's a bad idea to try to contain him. And they're just like, it's no worries, guys. We got it under control.
That's a wonderful sort of take. One of the things we've been talking about a lot in regard to Loki is like his general vibe of like hubris. Like he's just so full of himself. Like he can't be fooled. But that's also Shield's sin too, right? It's the sin of hubris that they believe they have the technological prowess to contain this monster who obviously knows better, and they just need to be like, this is the sequence where they need to be taught that you don't have what it takes to contain this monster, and we've been trying to tell you that, but now we have to demonstrate it. I think that is like, if we're looking for redeeming like qualities in this weirdo sequence, that's it. That I just love watching Hulk go to town on anything that destroys this helicarrier, which I'm in camp cool. Like, I think helicarriers are cool, even if they're stupid. They're cool, and that Hulk blows the crap out of it is just really satisfying.
It would be so great though, like when he comes to as Bruce down in the little hangar later.
Yeah.
That if he would look up in the sky and just kind of see this smoking helicarrier, like barely hanging on, and he just kind of looked up and said, I told him. Yeah.
That would be great. That would be amazing.
Oh, so funny.
It is. Is this the last time though? Like when we're thinking about, what other sequences of Hulk going totally mindless rage monster and destroying some bit of important property in the series going forward? Because after this, he's on Team Avengers, right?
Well, yeah, but they do have to bring the Hulkbuster suit out in the next film. So, I mean, there is still some...
He does go a little wonky. He goes sideways. Why does he go sideways? Do I not... Man, we're going to get to that 1 minute at a time.
Yeah, that'll be a little, 5 seasons down the road.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Okay, Hulkbuster, you're right. That is a sequence. Yeah. I was just trying to think of, like, when did they really start to suck the conflict out of this character? Because it's a long-running thing. Like, how sad it is that this is kind of the last time Hulk has any real stakes.
Yeah, with how powerful he is, I'm like, use him, put him in.
Yeah.
Like, I hated that in Avengers Infinity. Like, I hated that. I was like, why? I didn't understand. But I mean, I know that's a whole other podcast show, but I'm just like, that, it frustrated me so bad. I was like, why is this happening?
You mean as far as like when he's Professor Hulk? Like that whole side of it?
Yeah. I'm like, that does us no good. That does us no good. Like, everybody else is like to the max as far as their powers. And they
put Ruffalo in the Hulk suit?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing right now? Like, what is going on? But I didn't understand that. I was so frustrated. Like, after this point, I was like, you have him tearing this hangar apart. And later on, you're like, oh no, he's better in. Let's put him in a robot, or it's like, he's the professor. I'm like, what?
That is interesting. It does feel like they were. I don't know. We've talked about Hulk a lot. That part of Infinity War hasn't really come up yet as far as one of the problems with Hulk. Usually it is that he becomes Professor Hulk and all that. But that angle of Bruce being unable to actually go through the transformation anymore, and he's kind of stuck as Bruce, it's like they've been trying to come up with ways to still, kind of keep this character going in interesting ways. And it's, it does feel like they've struggled a bit.
Well, and in doing so right here is when they started forgetting what the actual interesting ways are to take this character.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Truly.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, and I suppose it's because, they run into these situations of like, well, we can't really, put him on a helicarrier again because, there's so much destruction. It just doesn't make sense, and they realize, and this is the challenge of the character. But again, I like to think of it as a great challenge for the writers to craft situations where you don't want Hulk to, it's that balance. You want Hulk to Hulk out or Bruce to Hulk out so that he can help you, but you also have to be conscious of where are we so that he doesn't actually destroy us all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta say, that last toss that Hulk does with Thor, it's like he picks him up and throws him high, and Thor crashes into like an overhead monitor and it just knocks him straight to the floor. I was like, God, that just looks painful. And it did make me wonder, it's like, what does it actually take to break a bone in an Asgardian? It's like, I'm assuming at some point, I mean, they are physical beings. There is some point where, like, they would break a bone or something. I mean, we did see in Thor, the movie, that when they went to fight the frost giants, that, I mean, some of the Warriors 3 were seriously injured and they had to go to the healing room. And so it does make me wonder, though, in a situation like this, especially against Hulk, like, I mean, obviously they don't want to break Thor's bones before the big final fight, but still, it's like, could he break his bones? I don't know. I was just curious about that.
I don't know. It looks like it might hurt this toss, but it doesn't look to me like he's out, Thor. It looks like he's on the ground, but then we don't see him get up.
Well, no, but we do see him dive out of the way once the bullets start shooting.
Which is weird because
again,
by the transitive property, shouldn't Thor also be impermeable to these bullets? And now that you brought it up, it does call to question, who is stronger, Hulk or a frost giant?
Right.
Ooh.
I mean, if the frost giants and the Asgardians seemed pretty fairly matched toe to toe. It's just there were an awful lot of frost giants. But when we saw them fighting, they were able to hold their own, the Asgardians, against them. So that makes me think that Hulk seems to be at this point slightly better than the Asgardians. So it makes me think that, again, barring a whole bunch of frost giants, it does make me think that if it were a one-on-one, that he likely could he could take down the frost giant. Again, Loki is a frost giant, so he certainly kind of see that there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. That's a good point. We're going to need to litigate this further. I can feel it.
Well, we get to this point again. The windows have been shattered. This thing can no longer land in water, and now Hulk jumps out onto the plane. I mean, it is a very funny line. The target angry bit that we have here. And I love the shots. This is the section of the film where, despite some of my issues with the way that this plays, I do have a great time watching it because I find what they're doing with the effects to be really exciting. This F-35 Lightning that the pilot is flying looks great. Hulk flying through the air onto it is great and kind of like ripping into it. Like all of these pieces I have a lot of fun with. And so to that end, I think that they're doing some fun stuff here. I mean, what do you two think as far as the way that this little sequence here plays between Hulk and the lightning?
Oh, I absolutely. Anytime Hulk hulks out, you had to have him fly somewhere. He has the jump and he has the land somewhere because it's always like he's going to take out whatever building, 20 different things before he actually lands because he's just so massive.
Yeah.
So you love to see, and just the image of like this huge Hulk on this it looks tiny little aircraft to us, like the way we're looking at it.
Right.
But, obviously it's, obviously people size, like to people is huge. The Hulk is like, oh, look at this little toy helicopter up here I get to land on. So, it's just the idea of like, it plays with that kid in you, right? Like this giant monster lands on this looks like little tiny helicopter that he could just toss off like his little toy. It's just so cool. So I think that's like anytime you have the Hulk, have him like, he's throwing Thor around like a little doll. Like everything looks pint sized to the Hulk, which I think is so cool about his character. That really reels you in.
I also love that the first thing, so he lands on it, he goes over to the back, and the first thing he does is like bust out the vertical propulsion on this jet. Like he rips into the center engine so that the thing starts to fall. And I find that delightful that he just knows, like, this is the thing that's hot. I'm going to punch it.
It's like watching him climb up. Like once he's grabbed onto the front of it and he's like trying to, I like that quick shot where he tries to grab the window and he's blown back and slides to behind it.
Yeah.
But what I love through all of those sequences is every time he puts his hand on the plane, except for when he tries to hit the glass, it puts a giant hole in it. Like they do a great job of demonstrating like he is not gentle and he will make his own handholds wherever he needs to. Oh my gosh.
That's exactly right. He makes his own handholds. I do find it really funny. Like the visual gag of him not being able to get a handhold on the glass is kind of awesome because really, he should be able to break the canopy with if he's ripping a hole in the frame of the plane, he should be able to shatter that canopy pretty easily, I have to imagine. I don't make jets. Look, let's just say, full disclosure, I don't make jets, but I find that this has to be a joke.
I guess what I like about it is it's showing that, he is dealing, especially because at this particular point, like as soon as he's grabbing for that, they fall out from underneath the helicarrier. So I mean, I'm assuming that he's hit by a whole bunch of wind suddenly. And it makes me think, especially because one hand is like resting on the glass as the other one's getting ready to punch it. And that's when he's hit by the wind. And it just seems like he has no handhold. So he blows right across it to the back.
Because of Hulk surface tension.
Yeah, and it's great because you actually do see his like greasy hand marks smudged across the canopy, which like there are some great little small moments like that in the effects that I really enjoy with what they're doing here.
I mean, the pilot needed some hope because he has none, right? Let's be honest. Once he jumps out of that aircraft, I was like, oh, they were dead wrong for sending this one little tiny pilot out here to stop the Hulk. I was like, what? Like, are you at a table, like having lunch and it's like, okay, you guys, who's going to be the distraction for the Hulk? All right, you pick like what straw you want. I'm like, who, you know what I mean? Yeah, paper rock, scissors or something. Like, I'm like, who decides who's the poor little pilot that gets to go out here and face the Hulk? I'm like, what?
Worst job ever.
Worst job ever.
Absolutely. And the other part of all of this is that, I don't know if he is waiting to use his ejection seat until like Hulk's not paying attention because he does keep like looking over his shoulders to make sure like, should I do it now? Should I do it now? But then when he finally does pull his ejection, the fact that Hulk catches him, like that is one of the most terrifying moments of this minute. It's like, oh my God, that is horrifying that Hulk actually catches him in midair and then like gives him a good shake and tosses him. It's like, oh, that is just awful, awful stuff. And, this is like, I mean, we've been talking about ejection seats and the terror of ejection seats since our first season, Pete, when we did Iron Man, because Iron Man hits one of the planes in that film and the pilot is forced to use his ejection seat. And so we did all this research about how fast people eject when they pull the ejection seat. And it's something like 200 miles per hour that the chair blasts out of the cockpit. Yeah, just in case that's, the plane's in flames and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it really pushes you out fast to get you away from it. And the fact that this ejection seat is going like potentially 200 miles per hour and Hulk catches it.
Whew.
Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. The stuff of nightmares. I'm glad that his parachute still worked after all of that.
The velocity of an ejection seat is typically very high, often reaching speeds of over 300.
Over 300.
Units matter. Meters per second.
Oh.
670 miles per hour or Mach 1.
See, I was
The exact
off.
velocity depends on the various ejection mechanics. That's crazy. That's Hulk. Fast. Hulk fast. I always say smash, but he should really get a fast.
He should get
a fast.
Those twitch muscles.
Yep.
He does. He must do Pilates.
He's got to do Pilates. Put him on a baseball team or something. I don't know what to tell him.
The Avengers baseball team. I want to picture that now. Hulk on that.
We haven't talked about this enough. Hold on a second. When Ruffalo exercises, does the Hulk get stronger? Or does the Hulk's cardiac fitness impact Banner.
So are you saying like if Ruffalo, so if Bruce Banner decided, you know what, I'm just going to let myself go, and
impact the actor Mark Ruffalo. Let's take that out. I misspoke. I don't think the actor Mark Ruffalo is impacted at all by either Banner or Hulk.
Right, but if Bruce Banner decides to let himself go, like full Lebowski, like Thor does in
Will the Hulk
Endgame,
go Lebowski?
right? Or as soon as he hulks out, does all that fat just burn off right away? And then when he reverts back, suddenly he's like, oh, look at that, the best workout regime ever.
That's right. That's my question. You just rephrased it. Now answer it.
Oh my god!
I don't think it matters, because if you think about She-Hulk, remember like when he was training her and she had to be in, she was actually She-Hulk and she was like throwing rocks and she was doing all of the stuff, but her body, like she goes back to she's small. Like they have to have like an outfit where they go small, then they go big. So I'm like, maybe, you know, as a human form, you could do whatever you want, which I think is pretty sweet. Like if I could get a gut and then I'm cool. And then as soon as I'm like ready to beat somebody up, like muscled out, you know, like it looks like it doesn't have like it's two different things. You know, it always seems like it doesn't really impact their physical form. Although I am curious though, if you have a gut and you're not that fast, does the transformation and stuff, does that take more of a toll? You know, like that energy that you take in, like, does that take more of a toll? But
there you go.
I feel like he would still be, you know, he'd still be hulked out if he had a gut, I guess, as Bruce Banner.
It's such an interesting question, and it does make me wonder exactly how that would play. But I think what you're saying, Ryan, really makes sense. Like, I mean, because obviously, I mean, there are a lot of muscles that he has as Hulk that he doesn't have when he reverts back. And same thing with She-Hulk. In either case, their bodies change so much that it would be interesting. Like maybe when he hulks out, it would just like spread the fat around. So it doesn't look like a gut. But then when he goes back to Bruce, it's all back in there.
It's all back in there, like in a sock.
I like it. He's back in there. Punch him back down. Well, because he's not supposed to be a threat, right? Like you're not supposed to think these people are dangerous. So, and then when he turns all green, you're already close to him, so you just get smacked out of the way because you don't expect him to hulk out.
No, yeah, exactly.
I'm really glad we covered this today, you guys. We've helped a lot of people out there.
Important topics.
This is a great question.
Yeah. Now, we do see land below. This is important because we've been debating, like, where are they exactly? I mean, we had Fury a few minutes ago tell one of his carrier bridge techs to put it over the water, you know, put the sun on the left and get over water, which means that they're heading directly south. And as we find out, they're pretty much over New Jersey. And so, you know, I was looking at a map of New Jersey and trying to figure out, and I mean, there are areas kind of where you can see this because we do see coast and land, and we actually see land beyond the water. So it's actually like, I don't know if it's islands or some of kind of if we're looking at a bay, I'm not exactly sure, but the southern south eastern edge of New Jersey has a lot of wetlands and waterways and bays. So, I mean, it does make sense. It seems like they probably did some research to figure out what the land needed to look like for where they are. But a lot of those areas are populated too, like Atlantic City is down there. And it does make me wonder, and this is something we've been talking about since the attack on the helicarrier. It's like, are they concerned at all about all these pieces falling down? I mean, the land is right below. So that means that this plane that explodes and Hulk will all be landing on the land somewhere. And then we cut to Iron Man, and he's doing some cutting of debris and also knocking it down there. And it seems like, I don't know, I just wonder if, like, how much they actually think about this and if they have concerns about, you know, taking out houses or cities or cars or people, you know? I mean, it seems like there is a lot of potential stuff down there that they could be damaging. I mean, how does it play? Is that something that we should be thinking about, or does the movie just say you don't need to worry about any of that?
You've seen the end of this movie, right?
Oh my gosh.
I've also seen many subsequent properties that they've done saying, hey, you know all that damage that happened? These are the people that are dealing with all of that damage.
Exactly. I think that's a great point. Like they are taught. But here in the same movie, I think what they're telling us is, yeah, we're fine.
If you want us to save you, you probably won't have that bank building, but you will be alive. Okay,
Right.
so just get your funds together in that city. We're gonna save you, but I'm just saying, okay? Like you got the Hulk, so things are not gonna be together. I'm just saying.
Just so they're aware. Just so they're aware.
Yeah, just send out like a little note, little warning before the Avengers come into town. But I've always wondered that because boy, they destroy some stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, is there like a budget for the Avengers? You know what I mean? Like when they start getting, that they like, I'm gonna send this amount to the city just because we already know we're gonna break some stuff.
Just be forewarned. You may want to
like carbon offsets, but for violence.
Yes, like we already know we're gonna rip up your city, so just be ready. Because I think about that same thing, Andy, that you brought up every time I watch one of these movies because it's fun for us. Like I love it, but I'm in the back of my head, I'm thinking they have destroyed it. Like, can you think about the construction? Like you would have to take a different route to work for like months.
Yeah.
If you look at like the way they tear up these streets and stuff, like trying to fight these bad guys, and it's just like I'm in Charlotte, and like we just do construction just whenever. Like the roads are just plugged up forever. So I'm thinking about Avengers in town. You rip up all these streets. Do you know how long it's going to take me to get to work? Like when they have to rebuild this stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's like get a
funny.
new job territory, right? It's like you're
Right.
leaving New York City is what's really happening.
Exactly. Because it's crazy. I'm like, how do they rebuild all of this stuff? It's nuts.
There should be like at least a one shot, if not an entire Disney Plus series on like the challenges of New York City real estate agents. Like,
ooh,
right?
Nice. I like
or
it.
recruiters. Like no superheroes
Yep.
at all. It's just straight up, we can't get people to move back into the city because the Avengers are here.
I like to imagine that actually they have incentive programs and different city and state governments are actually saying, we need to raise funds from you, our taxpayers,
Offsets.
because when the Avengers come, when somebody comes, like we want the Avengers to come, because think of all the new jobs that will be created. Think of all of the workers that we'll have to house for all of this. Like it's a whole incentive to bring workers and actually kind of grow their economy.
And that was the whole thing, right? Hail Hydra. That's why they permeated the congressional ranks, is because they needed to get their pro-development tax incentive programs through because of the Avengers. This is so brilliant. I had no idea what we've created here.
I kind of feel like that's two different programs, but it's fine.
More the merrier. All the great programs.
Yeah. Maybe a few different programs.
I think he scared a couple people, Pete, but that's fine.
Oh man, it's so funny because Iron Man. We do see him. He's up on the engine trying to fix this. There's all these broken pieces of debris. It looks like, from what I can tell, he's cutting off pieces of turbine blade. I'm guessing some of these turbine blades got damaged in the attack, and so he's just cutting entire giant rotors from the turbine blade and just jumping on them to drop them down to the fields of New Jersey below. Those are big chunks.
Oh, I'm sorry. Fields of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Pour it out for the fields of New Jersey.
Yeah, right. What do you two think of his laser beam, out of his
a cutting
his
laser
little
out of his wrist thing?
Yeah, that blasts us breaking the fourth wall, shooting us right in the face. What do you think of that effect of choosing to do it that way?
Oh, I love the look of it. I love it. I think it's great. I love tool time Iron Man.
But do you like the breaking of the fourth wall by shooting it in our face?
You don't. I take it by your question that you don't.
I think it's fine, but it is an interesting thing that we've seen a number of times in this film where they've said, we're going to have Loki stare right into the camera. We're going to have Black Widow stare right into the camera. Here we have Iron Man shooting right into the camera. And it's an interesting technique that I'm like, I don't feel like I've seen much in a lot of these Marvel films. And so it's interesting that in this film in particular, this is the third time at least that we've broken the fourth wall by having something directly impacting the lens, and whether it's a look or in this case, a laser.
Man, imagine it like 3D or something.
I don't know if I want to imagine a laser shooting me in the eyes.
I think I would definitely duck in the theater if it was 3D. I don't know. I think it's like the more advanced the effects got, I think it's more dangerous. I guess to have it coming directly at us. I guess if you think about the scope of a Marvel film, but I don't know. It's something cool about ooh, like it's all about that imagination of like bring that little kid out of you. And you're like, ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. Like bring it directed this way because I want to be able to do that from Iron Man suit. Oh, that's cool. Not that, but as adults, we're like, bro, why you pointing a laser in this direction? Like, I don't want to see like what you doing. But to have fun, I'm like just looking at it. When I first saw this, I was like, "Ooh, I want that Iron Man suit with the laser. Like, how does that work?" And the destruction is enticing, but it's dangerous.
Yeah,
I don't know, all at the same time.
It's like the Iron Man PowerPoint suit.
Yep.
There you go. I think that's a good way to kind of describe it, because I mean it does feel very much like comic booky. This is kind of like the toy. It's like, oh yeah, it's really fun to see it that way. And then by having it kind of hit directly into the lens, it's just kind of a fun way to do it, where we really do get to see a really cool effect version of it, kind of with almost like that little firework explosion as the laser kind of hits us in the eye. So I mean, it is kind of fun to see. So I mean, to that end, I like that I like it. I like the effect, but it is one of those things I definitely wanted to point out. And, I skipped it. I totally forgot. Before we get to that shot of Iron Man, we do get the shot of the plane blowing up. And this is one of those more modern sorts of shots that we started getting with like the TV show Battlestar Galactica, where, and actually, I mean, even jumping back to our writer-director, things like Firefly and Serenity, where you have something in the sky very far away. Typically those were in space, but we have something very far away. We've got a very long, wide shot, and the thing blows up, the plane blows up, and then we get a slight zoom in on it. The focus has to adjust, and then it kind of starts tracking Hulk, almost as if kind of like a documentary crew is kind of following it. And you get to see Hulk falling, and you have the, oh, as he roars and falls. I mean, it's a really fun way to kind of show that. Do you two like that style of production where we're so far away from something like that?
I do very much. I think it actually brings me, like, it makes it feel like the next voice I'm going to hear is Richard Attenborough, right? Like, here's a wild Hulk, and you can see his leap is incredible, right? Like, it just feels like...
Or David Attenborough, right?
David Attenborough, yeah, right. All the Attenboroughs are really good, though.
Richard Attenborough does agree with dinosaurs.
Yeah. Well, maybe he would be better with Hulk.
That's true.
Yeah, I like, now that we know the pilot is floating down wherever he's going to float down in New Jersey, it's cool to be like, yes, the Hulk finished it off, smashed it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I like to see that explosion at the end, like, it's final. You zoom out, see him. So it's just like his power. It's just like, you can't contain how much power he has. So explode, Yeah. So I love like the just the bigness of it. And it's just like everything is demolished.
Yeah.
That pulls you into the scene. Yeah.
It's a nod to, like, news. It's a nod to, I use a documentary. I like that, but also military, like early military footage, trying to capture actual engagements. And I feel like that, because this is kind of a pseudo or paramilitary operation. It keeps me in that mood. It like captures that vibe of what we're supposed to be looking at. And the fact that Hulk is still big enough that you can see arms and legs as he's flying through the sky is of note. Like, you talk about the issues of scale and how giant he is on this tiny plane, on this like toy plane, and then see him as if falling from space and you can still make out details is awesome.
It's very fun. It's such an interesting style of production. Like, where did that start with Firefly, or was it Battlestar Galactica? It's like that technique I really remembered from Battlestar Galactica, but
Battlestar Galactica is that was the first time I remember it actually being like driven home, because it's military. Like, it's such a super military thing. It just feels like such a throwback, and that so much of that show was a throwback. And so that was my first big memory of it.
Okay, yeah. Ryan, we've talked about Hulk quite a bit, but we haven't really had a chance to talk with you about this particular Hulk, about Mark Ruffalo as Hulk. When you first saw this film, do you remember, were you excited that Mark Ruffalo was playing Hulk now instead of Edward Norton? Was it a change that you didn't really care about? Where did you end up landing with this?
I think I appreciated Edward Norton as Hulk, but it always kind of like something always felt a little off about it. Like, it didn't feel like it was all like it was fully the Hulk to me. Like, I don't know if it was like his personality or something just felt a little different to me. Like, obviously he fits into an action star role, but something just still wasn't given that, like, I don't know if charismatic is the right word, but it's something about Mark Ruffalo that pulls you in as the Hulk. And I don't think I thought about it until the next time we see him for some reason. I don't think I thought about it that much in his Avengers because I was more looking at the action scenes and just wanted to see him smash stuff.
Right.
But it's like the more you see him in this role, it feels like he was born to play the Hulk. The way that he can manipulate just having, like you gravitate towards him. So, cause he has that personality, that caring personality. And all of a sudden, and that kind of like where he doubts himself a lot and he's not really sure of himself. He plays that really well. Then all of a sudden he'll hit a line that just zings you, or you're taken off guard by his brain. And then all of a sudden he's this big giant Hulk that, you can't stop. And I think that's the magic of the Hulk, is that this unassuming person is just bigger than life and you can't stop him. Like somebody you would underestimate. You can't stop. And there's nothing that can go against him. And for some reason, Mark Ruffalo, like, I don't know if it's the look, because, I think, he's a very handsome guy. So it's not like you're going to run away from Mark Ruffalo, right? So I think everything about him kind of just like draws you in. And I'm like, I think he gave Edward Norton a run for his money when they finally put him in this role. Because I remember reading something about because I was curious about why they did the switch. And I remember reading something about like Edward Norton had more he's more popular at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
So they were like, let's go with him, But I was like, when Mark Ruffalo hit the scene, I was like, this is the Hulk. I can't imagine like anybody else, playing into that role now. Like if they were to bring him back out, they were to do another Hulk movie, I'm like, you got to get Mark Ruffalo. Like you got to put him in this role.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that unassuming, the way that you describe him, I think that's definitely an element of him. Like Mark Ruffalo seems to have that. There's a kind of a quietness to him that I think kind of plays that Bruce side really well. Well, I mean, this has been a great conversation with you. We're going to be talking with you again in, I don't know, probably about a month. I think once we get into the hundreds, you'll be joining us to talk a little bit at that point. But at this point, let's call this episode good. So, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us here today for Minute 81. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime there's an aircraft, call me back, guys. I don't know if for the next minute there's an aircraft, but you know how to be like.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, is that how we know when you'll be back? It's like a dog whistle, right? There's aircraft. And Ryan's like, you got me. Anytime there's a red phone.
As soon as I see the minute and I see a plane, I'm like,
that's it.
Yes, put me in that slot. It's got to be that slot.
Oh my gosh, so funny. Tell everybody about where they can tune in to some of the stuff that you're doing out there with Black Girl Nerds.
Black Girl Nerds on all social media platforms, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Yeah, we're just, Black women trying to give our perspective on all kind of cultures. Star Wars is big right now that we have a lot of stuff out with, all that Star Wars celebration and stuff that just happened recently. So you can catch a lot of that. We're always doing live recaps on YouTube, on our YouTube page. But yeah, just follow us on all the social media, subscribe. You can find me personally at November Bear on Twitter if you want to see some of the stuff I'm doing, just personally sending out. But yeah, guys, this was great. Like anytime I can talk to you guys is hilarious. And I'm so excited to do it every time. It's always a good time. Oh,
well, we are thrilled. We love having you.
Totally
we love these conversations with you. So thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow, everybody, for Minute 82 with Michael Gravano. He'll be in the house for a few episodes. So tune in for that. And that's it for now. So Pete, thanks as always.
Tomorrow, Andy, no more pretense. We're just throwing people to their death now.
Until next time, true believers.
Marvel Movie Minute is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson. This season's music is Message to the World by Anthony Vega, and this season's show art is by Winston Yabo. Find the show at truestory.fm. If your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.